God bless everyone. What I'm about to share is more than a story, it's a revelation that will challenge everything you think you know about life, death, and what lies bay. Sophia Mitchell, a 12-year-old girl, was declared dead 3 times in a single day. 3 times. Her heart stopped. 3 times. Doctors believed it was the end. Yet, again, return wasn't just a miracle of medicine. Sophia came back with a message, one so profound, so extraordinary. It could only have come from Jesus. This seemingly ordinary girl from a small town stepped into the light of heaven, experienced its peace, and returned to share her journey. What she saw, who she met, and what she learned of. Her story has brought comfort to the grieving, hope to the lost, and wonder to those seeking answers about what happens when we die. This isn't just the story of survival, it's a testament to God's love. A reminder that death is not the end, it's just the beginning. If you believe in God and near-death experiences, subscribe to Life at NDE today. Discover inspiring messages from God through powerful near-death stories that bring hope and understanding. Hit subscribe now and join us in spreading the light of faith. This is the recavernable story of Sophia Mitchell, an ordinary teenager from a small town in Minnesota who stepped into the light of heaven and returned to share her extraordinary experience. If you've ever wondered what happens after we take our last breath, what lies beyond the final heartbeat, or if you've ever lost someone and clung to the hope that this life is not all there is, Sophia's story might be the answer you've been searching for. Her experience offers more than just hope, it provides a glimpse into a reality that is far more beautiful and profound than anything we can imagine. But let me warn you, once you hear Sophia's story, you'll never look at life the same way again. It all began on a crisp December morning in 2020 in Pine Valley, Minnesota. A small and peaceful town nestled in the heart of the Midwest. The kind of town where the days felt simpler and time seemed to move just a little slower. The frost sparkled on the bare branches of the trees, and the cold morning air turned every breath into tiny clouds. It was one of those mornings that felt quiet and timeless, as though nothing extraordinary could possibly happen. For the Mitchell family, the day began just like any other Sunday. Sophia, their lively and curious 12-year-old, sat in the back seat of their silver Honda Civic. Her long brown hair was tucked under a cozy beanie, and her favorite book was open in her lap. She was completely absorbed in the pages, her soft smile hinting at the joy she found in the story she was reading. Up front, her mother, Jenna, was focused on the road ahead, her hands firmly on the steering wheel as the family made their way to church. Jenna had always been the steady presence in their family, the kind of person who found joy in routines and small moments of togetherness. Beside her, Sophia's father, Kevin, fiddled with the radio, his brows furrowed in concentration as he tried to find their favorite Sunday morning gospel station. Almost there, he muttered with a playful smile, twisting the dial as static gave way to the faint sound of a choir singing in perfect harmony. The family had just left Pine Valley Community Church, where Sophia had participated in the youth choir practice. She had recently started singing solos, and her voice had captivated the congregation with its sweetness and purity. "Mom," Sophia said suddenly from the back seat, her voice brimming with excitement. "I think I finally got it. I hit the high note in Amazing Grace perfectly this time." Jenna glanced at her daughter through the rearview mirror, her heart swelling with pride. "You've been working on that note for weeks," she said with a warm smile. "I knew you could do it." Kevin chuckled softly, his attention still half-focused on the radio. "You've got a gift, kiddo," he said, his voice tinged with affection. The morning was perfect in its simplicity, a snapshot of a family enjoying life's small blessings. But life, as we know, has a way of changing in an instant. As the silver Honda Civic made its way down the quiet streets of Pine Valley, the sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft golden glow over the frosty landscape. The intersection of Maple and Pine, a spot locals had long warned about due to its dangerous blind spots, lay just ahead. What happened next would shatter the peaceful rhythm of that December morning and change the Mitchell family's lives forever. The family had just left Pine Valley Community Church, where Sophia had captivated everyone during youth choir practice with her powerful voice. Her solo performance of Amazing Grace had filled the small church with a beauty that brought tears to more than a few eyes. "Mom," Sophia said excitedly from the back seat, her face glowing with joy and accomplishment. "I think I finally hit the high note perfectly this time." Her voice was full of pride, the kind that only a 12-year-old who had worked tirelessly could express. Jenna glanced at her daughter through the rearview mirror, her heart swelling with pride. "You've been practicing so hard," she said with a warm smile. "I knew you'd get it, sweetheart." Beside her, Kevin grinned and chimed in. "Next stop, singing for the whole town at the Christmas concert." Sophia giggled, the sound light and infectious, filling the car with an aura of happiness and comfort. It was a moment of pure, simple joy, a moment the Mitchell family would cherish forever if only they had known what was to come. Life, as we all know, has a way of shifting in an instant. As their silver Honda Civic approached the intersection of Maple and Pine, the morning sun cast a warm golden glow over the frost-covered roads. The stillness of the small-town morning was serene, almost too perfect. But the intersection of Maple and Pine was infamous among the locals, a dangerous crossing with blind spots that had caused countless close calls and tragedies. The Mitchell family, caught in the comfort of their laughter and conversation, never saw what was coming. The logging truck came barreling down the road at full speed, its massive frame roaring through the quiet morning air. The driver, distracted, didn't even notice the red light. Jenna didn't have time to react. In an instant, the truck slammed into their car with an earth-shattering force. The silver Honda Civic was flung across the intersection like a discarded toy, its frame crumpling under the impact. The screeching of tires and the sickening crunch of twisting metal tore through the peaceful Sunday morning, shattering its quiet beauty. For a moment, everything seemed to hang in silence. The kind of silence that follows devastation. Broken glass glittered like fallen stars across the pavement, and the air filled with the acrid smell of smoke and oil. The lives of the Mitchell family had been irreversibly changed in an instant. First responders would later describe it as one of the worst accidents they had ever witnessed. Twisted metal and broken glass littered the intersection, and the mangled remains of the Mitchell's silver Honda Civic told a story of devastation. Kevin Mitchell, the devoted husband and father, died instantly upon impact. Jenna was critically injured, trapped in the driver's seat, her body pinned by the crumpled frame of the car. And Sophia, bright, vibrant Sophia, was found unconscious in the back seat, her small frame barely clinging to life. Her favorite book was still clenched tightly in her hands, its pages streaked with blood and ash, as if she had refused to let go even in the chaos. "We're losing her," a paramedic shouted, his voice sharp with urgency, as they fought to save her fragile body. Sophia's heart had stopped. For the first time that day, the young girl was declared clinically dead. The paramedics worked frantically, their hands moving in a blur as they administered CPR and defibrillation. Moments stretched into eternity before the monitor beeped faintly, signaling a weak but present heartbeat. Sophia was alive, but barely. They knew they were in a race against time. At Pine Valley Memorial Hospital, Dr. Jessica Chen, the lead trauma surgeon, took one look at Sophia's fragile, battered condition and felt a sinking weight in her chest. As a seasoned professional, she had seen her share of tragedies. But something about this child, a girl so young and full of life, cut through her usual clinical detachment. "Get the operating room ready now," she commanded, her tone leaving no room for hesitation. She knew that every second mattered. The medical team moved swiftly, their faces set with determination. But just as they wheeled Sophia down the sterile hospital corridors, the unthinkable happened. Her heart stopped. Again. For the second time that day. Sophia was declared dead. A heavy silence fell over the team. But only for a moment. They sprang back into action, working furiously to revive her. Hands moved in perfect synchrony. Compressions, ventilators, medications. The room was filled with the sound of frantic instructions, beeping monitors, and the collective prayer that their efforts wouldn't be in vain. Minutes passed, feeling like hours, before the monitor beeped once more. Sophia's heart began to beat again, weak and fragile, but undeniably alive. Dr. Chen exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. But her relief was short-lived. She turned to her team, her face etched with concern. "She's been without oxygen for too long," she said quietly, her voice steady but heavy with worry. "Even if she survives, the damage might be irreversible." Despite the odds, they pressed on. They refused to give up on Sophia, even as doubt lingered in their minds. Meanwhile, in the waiting room, Jenna lay in a hospital bed, her own injuries severe but stable. When the doctor gently informed her of Kevin's death, her anguished screams pierced the sterile hospital halls. A raw sound of unimaginable loss. But it was the news about Sophia that truly broke her. "Please," Jenna sobbed, clutching the hand of a nurse who stayed by her side. Her voice cracked with desperation. "Please don't take my baby too. Lord. If you're listening, not my Sophia. Please." As if in cruel response to her plea, Sophia's heart stopped for the third time while she was still in surgery. The monitors flatlined, their sharp, unyielding tone signaling the end. Dr. Chen and her team worked tirelessly, refusing to give up despite the odds. But after several minutes of no response, the unthinkable began to feel inevitable. With an aching heart, Dr. Chen reached for Sophia's chart. "Time of death," she began softly, her voice heavy with resignation. But then, something extraordinary happened before she could finish the sentence. Sophia's heart began to beat on its own. Without medical intervention, without explanation, her fragile heart slowly and steadily restarted. Gasps filled the room as the team stared at the monitor, watching the rhythmic blips of life. "What happened?" a nurse whispered in awe. But no one had an answer. Sophia would later explain where she had been during those moments when her body lay lifeless on the operating table. What she described would defy logic and challenge the very foundations of both faith and science. "It was beautiful," Sophia said, her voice soft but tinged with wonder. "More beautiful than anything I've ever seen on Earth." She described stepping into a place that felt alive with golden light, where even the air shimmered and sparkled. Colors danced around her, colors so vivid and otherworldly. They didn't exist on Earth. They don't even have names in our world, Sophia explained, her words tinged with the longing of someone who had glimpsed paradise. The first thing she noticed was the music. "It wasn't like anything I'd ever heard before," she recalled. "It was as if every beautiful sound in the universe was playing at once. But instead of being overwhelming, it was perfect, like a million angels singing in harmony." She found herself walking on streets that appeared to be made of pure gold. Yet they didn't feel cold or hard like metal. Instead, they seemed alive, glowing with their own inner light. Beneath her feet, the ground pulsed softly, as though it was breathing along with her. The air carried a peace so profound, Sophia said, that it made every joyful moment she had ever experienced on earth seem shallow by comparison. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't sad. I felt complete, she said, struggling to find the right words. But as beautiful as the place was, it was the people she met there that left the greatest impression on her. First came the children, a boy and a girl who ran toward her with open arms. They hugged her tightly, as if they had known her their whole lives, their faces glowing with joy. We've been waiting for you, big sister, they said in unison, their voices full of love. Sophia was confused. She had always been an only child, or so she thought. It wasn't until much later, when Sophia shared this part of her story with her mother, that Jenna broke down in tears. I don't understand, Sophia said. Who were they? Jenna's voice trembled as she revealed the truth. She and Kevin had lost 2 babies to miscarriage before Sophia was born. A secret sorrow they had carried silently for years. Tears streamed down Jenna's face as she listened to her daughter describe siblings she had never met, never been told about, yet somehow knew. Sophia had no earthly way of knowing, yet her account left no doubt in Jenna's mind. The children Sophia described were not just figments of her imagination. They were real, and they had been waiting for her. But the most profound moment of Sophia's experience was yet to come. He was standing there, waiting for me, Sophia would say, her voice trembling with emotion, her eyes filling with tears every time she recounted this part of her story. Jesus. The moment she saw him, she knew exactly who he was. It wasn't like meeting a stranger, she explained. It was like finding someone I had known and loved my entire life but had somehow forgotten. The instant I saw him, everything felt right, complete, like I was home. Jesus didn't speak with words, Sophia said. Instead, his thoughts flowed directly into her mind. Every look, every unspoken word, was filled with a love so pure, so overwhelming, that it made her earthly understanding of the word love seem pale and incomplete by comparison. He knew everything about me, Sophia said. Every mistake, every doubt, every fear. And he loved me anyway, not in spite of those things, but including them. His love made me feel whole. As she stood in his presence, Jesus showed her things, visions of her future, glimpses of the lives she would touch, and the hope she would bring to others. She saw herself speaking to people who were grieving, helping them find comfort and peace. She saw children smiling again after their sorrow had lifted. He told me it wasn't my time yet, Sophia said softly. He said I had a mission, that people needed to hear my story, that in a world where so many are losing hope, they need to know that heaven is real, that God's love is real, and that death isn't the end, it's just the beginning. Her heart ached at the thought of leaving, but Jesus reassured her with his calm, radiant presence. You're not alone, she remembered feeling. You'll never be alone. But there was one final meeting that both broke and healed Sophia's heart. Dad was there, she whispered, her tears flowing freely as she recounted the memory. He looked so happy, so peaceful, like all the pain and worry he'd ever carried was just gone. Her father hugged her tightly, the embrace so vivid and real that she could almost feel it still. He told me to take care of Mom, Sophia said, her voice breaking. He said to tell her that he's okay, that he's proud of her, and that he'll be waiting for her when the time comes. But then, Her father's tone became gentle but firm. "You have to go back now." "Sweetheart," he said. "It's not your time to stay." The next thing Sophia remembered was opening her eyes in a hospital room 3 weeks later. The medical staff was stunned. Not only had she survived against all odds, but Sophia showed no signs of the brain damage they had feared. Her mind was sharp. Her memories were intact. And she carried with her an extraordinary story that defied all logic. Dr. Chin, who had tirelessly worked to save her, admitted she was at a loss for words. By all medical understanding, Sophia shouldn't be alive, she said. And even if she had survived, the oxygen deprivation to her brain should have left her severely disabled. Instead, she's completely fine. More than fine. It's like she's carrying a light inside her. The changes in Sophia were subtle but profound. The cheerful, somewhat shy teenager had been transformed. In her place was someone with a quiet confidence and an otherworldly wisdom in her eyes. She spoke of her experience with unwavering certainty, never doubting what she had seen or felt. "Heaven changes you," she would say simply. "Once you've been there, you can't see this life the same way anymore. You realize this isn't all there is, it's just the beginning." But living with such an extraordinary story wasn't without its challenges. Sophia quickly discovered that not everyone was ready to believe what she had to share. Some dismissed her as a child with an overactive imagination. Others accused her of seeking attention or fabricating her story to cope with the trauma of losing her father. Yet Sophia remained steadfast. "They didn't see what I saw," she would say, her voice steady but kind. "They didn't feel what I felt. And that's okay. My job isn't to convince everyone, it's just to tell the truth and let God do the rest." Some people didn't believe her. Others thought she was seeking attention. A few even suggested she was a traumatized girl, fabricating stories to cope with the loss of her father. But Sophia didn't let the skeptics bother her. "They haven't seen what I've seen," she would say with a gentle smile, her voice calm yet unwavering. "They haven't felt what I've felt. And that's okay. My job isn't to convince everyone, it's just to share what happened to me and let God do the rest." Jenna watched her daughter with a mixture of awe and gratitude. Losing Kevin had left a gaping hole in their lives, one that could never fully heal. But Sophia's experience gave them both something precious, a new perspective on death and the promise of what lies beyond. "Sometimes," Jenna said softly, "I catch her looking at something in the distance, smiling at something I can't see. And I wonder if she's remembering heaven." Sophia's story didn't stay confined to Pine Valley for long. Word began to spread about the young girl who had died and returned with a message of hope and love. Local churches invited her to speak, followed by churches in neighboring towns. And eventually, her story reached audiences across the state. People were drawn to the sincerity in her voice and the unmistakable light in her eyes as she described her experience. It wasn't just the miraculous nature of her story that captivated them, it was how she made heaven feel real, tangible, and near to those who listened. Heaven was no longer an abstract idea, it was as vivid and present as the world around them. But it was her message about God's love that resonated most deeply with her audiences. "It's bigger than anything we can imagine," Sophia would tell them, her words laced with both wonder and conviction. Trying to describe it is like trying to explain the ocean to someone who's only ever seen a glass of water. Our human minds just can't contain how vast and beautiful it is. She spoke about meeting Jesus with such joy and reverence that even hardened skeptics found themselves moved. Her words painted a picture of a love so pure, so unconditional, that it broke through even the most guarded hearts. "He knows everything about us," Sophia said, her voice steady and full of quiet power. "Every mistake, every flaw, every bad decision we've ever made. And He loves us anyway. Not in spite of our imperfections, but including them. Because to Him, we're not our mistakes, we're His children. Her words weren't just a message of reassurance, they were an invitation. An invitation to look beyond human limitations and glimpse the boundless, transformative love of God. And as Sophia spoke, it was clear to everyone who heard her that she wasn't just sharing a story, she was sharing a truth she had lived. A truth that had changed her forever. The impact of Sophia's testimony was profound. Her words reached people in ways that no sermon or book ever could. Those who had lost loved ones found solace in her vivid descriptions of heaven, a place so full of peace and love that it gave them hope beyond their grief. People struggling with their faith felt a renewed sense of purpose, inspired by her conviction. Even atheists and agnostics admitted that her story made them pause and question their certainties about life, death, and what might lie beyond. One particularly touching moment came during a visit to a children's hospital. Sophia was speaking to a group of young patients when a boy with terminal cancer raised his hand, his small voice trembling with curiosity and fear. "Were you scared when you died?" he asked. Sophia knelt beside his bed, took his hand in hers, and smiled warmly. "The only scary part was coming back," she said gently. "Heaven itself is like the most wonderful dream you've ever had, except you're wide awake. Everything there is more real than anything on earth. It's beautiful. And you're never alone." The boy's mother later shared that her son's fear of death disappeared after that conversation. He faced his final days with a peace that amazed everyone around him. But Sophia's journey wasn't just about sharing her story, it was about living it. Her glimpse of heaven's perfect love had profoundly changed how she saw the world and the people in it. "When you felt the kind of love I experienced in heaven," Sophia explained, "you want to share it with everyone you meet, not just by talking about it, but by showing it in how you treat people." Sophia began to channel her experience into action. She volunteered at homeless shelters, offering compassion and care to those society often overlooked. She visited nursing homes, spending hours listening to the stories of the elderly and sharing her message of hope. She reached out to young people struggling with grief and loss, organizing support groups for children who had lost parents, drawing on her own experience of losing her father. Her work didn't stop there. Sophia spoke at schools about hope, resilience, and the importance of kindness. Her authenticity and deep understanding of pain and healing made her relatable to young people, while her wisdom touched the hearts of adults. Jenna, her mother, watched Sophia's transformation with a mixture of pride and amazement. "Sometimes I look at her and can hardly believe she's the same person," Jenna said. "She still has her moments of being a regular teenager, rolling her eyes when I tell her to clean her room or do her homework. But there's something else there now. Something deeper. Something profound. That comes out when she talks about her experience. It's like she carries a piece of heaven with her." The medical community remained captivated by Sophia's case. Dr. Chin, who had fought tirelessly to save her life, collaborated with researchers studying near-death experiences. Together, they documented every detail of Sophia's extraordinary journey. "While we can't scientifically prove what Sophia experienced," Dr. Chin said, "there's something extraordinary about her story. It challenges what we think we know about life and death." Indeed, what Sophia experienced remains a mystery. We can't explain her survival or her complete recovery through current medical understanding, Dr. Chin noted. But whatever happened to her, it's changed her and everyone around her. Now, 5 years have passed since that fateful Sunday morning. Sophia is 18, preparing to start college, and she continues to share her story with the world. Her book about her experience has touched countless lives, with all proceeds going to help families who have lost loved ones in accidents. She has spoken to thousands of people, appeared on national television, and inspired countless individuals to re-examine their beliefs about life, death, and what might lie beyond. Yet, perhaps the most recavanable thing about Sophia isn't her extraordinary experience, it's how ordinary she remains in so many ways. She still sings in the church choir, her voice carrying a sweetness that seems to echo heaven's harmony. She still loves reading, though she admits that no earthly story can compare to the glory she witnessed. And she still faces the usual challenges of life, navigating friendships, preparing for exams, and figuring out her future. But beneath all of that, there's something different about Sophia. Something unshakable. Her story isn't just a testament to what lies beyond, it's a reminder of the love, hope, and purpose we can find in this life, too. She still loves to sing in the church choir, though now she says the music feels different, each note reminding her of heaven's harmony. She describes the melodies as echoes of a place where every sound vibrates with love and joy. Singing is no longer just an act of worship for Sophia, it's a connection to the beauty she witnessed beyond this life. She still devours books, just as she always has, though now she often pauses mid-story, smiling to herself. No earthly story can compare to the glory I saw, she admits, though reading remains one of her favorite pastimes. And she still navigates the ups and downs of teenage life, the challenges of friendships, schoolwork, and finding her place in the world. But Sophia faces those struggles with a perspective that few her age could ever imagine. Heaven changed how I see everything, she reflects. Even the hard stuff. Because now I know that this life isn't all there is. It's just the beginning of our story. Jenna, too, has found healing through Sophia's experience. The ache of losing Kevin is a constant presence, but Sophia's vivid descriptions of him happy, whole, and at peace in heaven bring her comfort on even the hardest days. Knowing he's in a place more beautiful than I can imagine helps me get through the difficult days. Jenna says, when I think of him there, I know he's waiting for us. It gives me hope. Sophia continues to receive letters and messages from people around the world who have been touched by her story. Many share their own experiences of loss and grief, finding comfort and hope in her account of what lies beyond death. Others tell her how her testimony has renewed their faith or given them courage to face their own mortality. But Sophia's most profound message isn't just about what happens after we die, it's about how we choose to live now. Heaven showed me that every moment here matters, she says. Every kindness, every smile, every choice to love instead of hate, it all ripples into eternity. We're not just living for this world, we're preparing for the next one. She often ends her talks with a heartfelt challenge to her audience. If you could see how much God loves you, how precious you are to Him, you'd never doubt your worth again. You'd never question if your life has meaning. Because I've seen it. I've felt it. And I know every single person is infinitely valuable in His eyes. Sophia Mitchell's journey from an ordinary teenager to a messenger of hope continues to inspire people across the globe. Her story reminds us that sometimes the most powerful messages come through the most unexpected messengers. Even in our darkest moments, light can break through in miraculous ways, offering hope where there was once despair. Looking toward the future, Sophia remains steadfast in her mission. Jesus sent me back for a reason, she says with quiet conviction. And as long as I'm here, I'll keep sharing what I saw, what I felt, and what I know to be true, that heaven is real. That God's love is beyond anything we can imagine. And that death isn't the end, it's the doorway to something more beautiful than we could ever dream. Her story stands as a testament to hope, a bridge between heaven and earth, and a reminder that even in a world shadowed by doubt and fear, light can shine through if we let it. At the end of her talks, Sophia often leaves her audience with a simple yet profound reminder. God bless you all. And remember, heaven is closer than you think. If you believe in God and near-death experiences, subscribe to Life at NDE today. Discover inspiring messages from God through powerful near-death stories that bring hope and understanding. Hit subscribe now and join us in spreading the light of faith.